Tonight, the Ukraine war delivers a reminder that it's not only drones shaping the front lines. Old-school armor, used intelligently, can still change the map in a single push. Ukrainian forces are signaling a sharper, more methodical style of counterattack. Short, violent bursts of combined arms, tanks, marines, and real-time reconnaissance designed to crack fortifications, seize a foothold, and then disappear before Russian drones and artillery can punish them. And the area drawing fresh attention is the Dnipropetrovsk direction, where the fight around river lines and key settlements has turned into a chess match of crossings, high ground, and timing. According to Ukrainian-linked reporting and battlefield assessments circulating today, Ukrainian Marines, backed by a small group of Leopard tanks, executed a flank-driven operation aimed at pressuring Russian positions near the Novopavlivka axis. The immediate story is tactical. Armor suppresses, infantry clears. But the bigger story is strategic. Ukraine is trying to turn Russia's slow winter infiltration tactics back against them, using the same limited visibility and terrain complexity to launch targeted strikes that force Moscow to spread thin. That matters because the Novopavlivka area is not just another village on a long list. It sits near terrain that can offer observation advantages, and it's tied to a river system that, by its very nature, creates choke points. Whoever controls the approaches and the crossing options can shape what happens next, because rivers are not just lines on a map. They're natural barriers that slow vehicles, complicate logistics, and expose troops during movement. When either side gains a safe staging area near a riverbank, especially near built-up positions, it can translate into easier bridging, safer engineering work, and faster follow-on operations. And in this part of the front, that is the difference between holding a line and watching it bend. Reports describe a sequence that Ukrainian forces have repeated more often over the past year. Set conditions, strike quickly, limit exposure, and preserve combat power. The Leopard tanks, often described as Leopard 1 variants in open reporting, were used as a blunt instrument at the start, engaging prepared Russian fortifications, likely to disrupt firing positions and create shock and confusion that infantry can exploit. This is not the old image of tanks rolling forward in mass. It's tank fire as a timed tool. Hit hard, then withdraw, because both sides understand the modern battlefield penalty for staying visible too long. FPV drones, loitering munitions, and counter-battery systems punish anything that lingers. So if Ukraine's armor rolled in, fired to break up defensive nodes, and then pulled back, that would align with the current reality of armored warfare. Tanks are still valuable, but only when they're treated as part of a system, not as invincible spearheads. The Marines then moved into the damaged trench network in what appears to be a disciplined clearing operation, slow enough to survive, fast enough to keep momentum. And a key detail in these accounts is the use of overhead reconnaissance. Drones not just hunting targets, but guiding infantry, warning of ambush points, and helping units decide which trench turns into a trap and which becomes a route forward. It's a harsh kind of choreography. Armor suppresses, reconnaissance reveals, infantry clears, and command links it all together under conditions where a single mistake can cost a squad. Another factor repeatedly mentioned in this sector is fog and low visibility, conditions that have reportedly helped Russian infiltration at times, especially when operators struggle to see clearly through optics or drone feeds. But the same conditions can also help the defender or the counterattacker if they time movement correctly. In low visibility, positions can be approached more quietly. Firing points can be struck before defenders fully understand the direction of attack, and the enemy's drone advantage can be muted, even briefly. That's the key word, briefly. Ukraine's challenge is not simply make a breakthrough, it's make a breakthrough and survive the counterfire. And that's why these operations often aim for limited, achievable objectives. Seize a trench line, take prisoners, knock out a fortification, disrupt an assembly area, then reset. If the accounts are accurate, the immediate results included Russian casualties, a number of surrenders, and most importantly, a Ukrainian foothold that can be used to threaten the flank of Russian forces trying to press toward Novopavlivka. Even a small foothold matters because it forces Russian commanders to answer uncomfortable questions. Do you reinforce the threatened flank and slow your main push? Do you counterattack immediately and risk walking into pre-sighted fire zones? Or do you hold and absorb pressure while Ukraine consolidates and prepares another strike? This is how the front changes in 2025, not always through dramatic sweeping advances, but through repeated costly dilemmas that erode unit strength and morale over weeks. And make no mistake, this is also about logistics and engineering as much as it is about firefights. When either side secures a safer bank area or a settlement with access to both sides of a river, it becomes easier to move supplies, rotate troops, and prepare bridging options. Engineers are high-value assets, bridging gear is limited, and a rushed crossing under fire is how vehicles burn and infantry gets pinned. So each time Ukraine denies Russia a stable crossing point, it reduces the chance of a sudden mechanized surge. And each time Ukraine creates its own staging area, it increases the threat of disruptive raids that force Russia to guard more ground with the same number of exhausted troops. This is why the story of one operation connects to the broader winter picture. Russia may probe and infiltrate under cover of weather, but Ukraine is showing it can respond with precise combined arms punches that punish those probes and reclaim initiative, even if only locally. The Leopard element is also politically significant because it reinforces the message to Ukraine's supporters. Western equipment still has battlefield utility when paired with doctrine, training, and careful risk management. But it also underlines a limitation. Armor alone cannot solve the battlefield. It's the integration, sensors, comms, drones, infantry discipline, and timing that makes the difference. If Ukraine can keep executing these compact operations, inflicting losses, taking prisoners, disrupting the enemy's staging areas, and forcing Russia to widen its defensive responsibilities, then the cumulative effect can become strategic, not because one village flips overnight, but because the attacker's tempo breaks. What to watch now is the response, whether Russia intensifies pressure in this axis, whether it attempts to restore its infiltration pattern under fog and low visibility, and whether Ukraine can hold a forward foothold without becoming a fixed target for artillery and drone swarms. Also watch the rhythm. If this was a single raid-like thrust, it's a message. If it is followed by repeat strikes along adjacent positions, it becomes a campaign. And campaigns, even small ones, shape negotiations, resupply priorities, and the confidence of troops who are fighting in brutal conditions with little margin for error. And here's the bottom line tonight. Ukraine appears to be turning the battlefield into a sequence of controlled crises for Russia, using tanks for timed suppression, Marines for disciplined trench clearing, and drones for real-time direction, aimed at denying Moscow the stable river-adjacent footholds it needs for deeper offensive momentum. It doesn't mean the front is collapsing everywhere, and it doesn't mean the fight for key settlements like Novopavlivka is over. But it does mean Ukraine is still capable of sharp counterblows that force Russia to defend more ground, spend more manpower, and operate under constant uncertainty. And if that tempo holds through winter, the bigger story may not be one dramatic breakthrough, but a steady squeeze that makes Russia's next push slower, riskier, and far more expensive than it planned.